Imagine if that to-do list keeps growing because you're not motivated to do it. Imagine if you spent a decade not being able to sleep through the night. What if you're one decision away from improving your health, fixing your faith, and transforming your life?
I didn't realize in the medical world what we're taught, there's an agenda behind it. I thought everybody was taught the right stuff, true science, but there's a lot of politics and money and power behind it. If you think about it, 40% of Americans have chronic illnesses. So you're looking at an average of sick people because your diet's the same as most Americans, then it's crap.
Let's talk about stem cells, regenerative medicine, because I think the world that we're in thinks it's brand new, thinks it's hocus pocus, thinks it's crap, right? Like that's what the pharmaceutical companies want us to believe.
But it's been around for many, many years.
Long time.
30 plus years. There are FDA approved reasons for doing this. They use stem cells cancer treatment as well. There are so many studies that support the process that do say that they can be very helpful. But
today's episode was built on purpose. You get to meet Angie. She owns a business that's all about health and wellness, which is part of our journey in faith and business and how our health is such a big part of that. And today we get to dive deeper into how that all comes together and how you get to take the next steps in building on purpose. Angie, I'm excited to sit down with you. It's been fun the last few years getting to know you and personally and professionally. Like I've enjoyed it quite a bit. I love the fact that we've got a lot of things that we view life similarly on. But I thought a good way to start our conversation is to really kind of get back into like your journey. Like you got a story, like you've gone through life. And so you've been in the medical field a long time.
Over 20 years.
Which is awesome, right? Yeah. When did that start? Or like, what were you thinking about doing when you were younger? Or like, how did that journey go? And when did the day go, I want to enter the medical field?
I was always in school. I was always nerdy, really good at academics, but not sports or anything. I was always, overweight, but in the nerdy, graduated top of my class type thing. So I wanted to be an accountant. And actually had a scholarship to be accounting. But my last year in high school, I went on a missions trip to Mexico, and they offered a missions training school.
Oh, wow.
And so I ended up doing that for a few months. So I moved to Mexico without knowing any Spanish whatsoever.
Oh, that's interesting.
I was supposed to go with a friend, but she backed out. So it was me. It was students from Mexico and America, anyone out of high school. So there's a lot of young adults, but there were some older adults like my parents' age as well that were down there. Dug right into learning how to be a missionary, deepening my relationship with God. And then for 2 months out of the year, we traveled all across Mexico, and we would go talk to people about God. We would do plays. We would go door to door. We would just do different ministries all across the nation of Mexico. And it was during one of those trips we were ministering at a garbage dump. People, children. It was really eye-opening. You don't see it in America, but they live in the garbage dump. So they go get their food out of the garbage in a garbage dump, and they drink leftover stuff from the garbage dump, and they find things to sell from the garbage dump. And they're so joyful and so happy, but all their teeth are rotted out. And they have wounds, and they are so sick. And besides giving them like a toothbrush and soap, I didn't have any knowledge of anything else I could do for them. There was another time we were in a tiny mountain village up in the mountains, and a woman went into labor, and they had to carry her on a stretcher through the woods at night to get to a car to drive her an hour and a half down the mountain to get to a doctor. And just the lack of knowledge, simple medical knowledge, like even just simple things. I felt like besides what I had already learned in my walk with Christ, I could learn more and do more. So that was the moment I decided to become a nurse. So I was in charge of that school for a couple years after that. For total, I was in Mexico about 4 years, and I came home, went right into nursing school. So
where'd you go?
I went to small community college, became an RN after about 2.5 years. And at that time, there was such a nursing shortage. You could get a job essentially anywhere. I started right in the ER. Immediately in the ER, which some nurses will say, no, you always have to do med surg and just learn how to be a nurse. But I am very much an adrenaline junkie. And so ER fits my personality well.
Yeah.
I had gotten...
Very fast-paced.
Yes, very fast-paced.
Yes.
You're a jack of all trades, a master of none, right? You're taught to handle everything, but not for long periods of time. So I was 5 months pregnant when I started, and I remember my first code was a baby that died. And went to the bathroom and cried, and then you come back out and you keep taking care of the person down the hall who's yelling at you because they didn't get their turkey sandwich when they asked for it. But you had just come out of taking care of a baby who died. And so nursing is really hard. Healthcare is really hard. There's these ups and downs and emotional days. I would come home and just put my hand on my kid's belly just to make sure they were breathing after a hard day. I worked night shift in Rockford, which is a lot of trauma. There's a lot of trauma in Rockford. I can't tell you how many times I ran out to the parking lot and picked up people who were shot and just shoved out a car in the parking lot. Threw them in a wheelchair, threw them in a cart. Not even thinking about our safety, because now that I'm older, I'm like, that was so dumb, because it was gang related. So that gang was probably following them to finish them off.
Oh, geez.
And we just went out there without a thought about ourselves at all, just to help the person, and the stories I've seen and the things I've gone through. But so that's how I started my nursing career. I had several kids in a short amount of time. And so I was just an RN not just an RN. I only had my associate's degree for a few years.
Okay.
After about 5 years, I decided I wanted to do more. I'm always one of those people. I always want to do more. I wanted to become a nurse practitioner. So to do that, I had to get my bachelor's first. So I went back to school, got my bachelor's, and then on to my master's. Throughout that time, I transitioned to working in the ICU. So another high adrenaline, high acuity setting. I ended up, being in charge of the ICU, learned so much. There's just so much. But once I got my master's degree, the hospital made a position for me as a hospitalist nurse practitioner on night shift. They had not had that role before. I actually approached in an off conversation. I just said, you need a nurse practitioner to work with you guys. And they're like, well, who's going to do that? And I said, well, I graduate in 6 weeks. And so they made this position for me.
Oh, wow.
And now that position is filled 7 days a week at multiple hospitals. And I'm very proud of that. They really saw the value in what I do after, I've been doing that role for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
So, and then I went on and got my doctorate degree. And so been in the hospital the whole time, hospitalist, ICU, ER, including during COVID. So COVID was traumatizing for so many people, people who had COVID, people who loved someone and lost someone during that time, and for healthcare workers, especially in the hospital setting. Every day you would come into the hospital and you would ask, okay, what's different today? What are we doing today? Because you didn't know. Everything was changing. It was changing day to day. What we were doing for COVID patients was different one day to the next. And I saw so many people dying alone. And at that point, they weren't allowing visitors. Even the staff didn't want to go in the room, and they were dying alone, isolated, and nobody should die like that.
No.
Nobody. Very, very challenging to walk with that. And everything we did, healthcare workers, for the most part, we are there to help people. And at some point I was like, what is wrong? We're not helping people. I did see that there were people going out and getting these vitamin IVs. And for some reason, they weren't getting that sick. And they weren't being hospitalized. I'm like, this is a bunch of crap. First thing you do when you come to the hospital, we take away all their supplements. We don't learn about supplements in school. We barely learn about nutrition. I'm like, this is a bunch of crap that, our bodies, they should be fine. We don't need a supplement. Well, then I started doing research. I was wrong. I was completely wrong. And I was uneducated and naive and had no idea what I was missing.
Because you already had your doctorate at this point.
I already had my doctorate at this point. They don't teach you this. I didn't realize in the medical world, what we're taught, there's an agenda behind it. And I didn't know that. I thought everybody was taught the right stuff, true science, but there's a lot of politics and money and power behind it that I had no idea. And so I started looking at research for different things. And I discovered, you know what? I want to be able to offer this to people. I had some close friends who were very scared of getting ill. And when they did get ill, they would call me. I mean, when you're in healthcare, you get called all the time. And what can I do? What can I do? So I was researching. I was trying to figure things out. I, of course, had my own kids. I mean, I would come home from the hospital, strip in the garage, spray down my car with disinfectant, and just get right in the shower, clothes right in the laundry. My parents, elderly, not well, lived with me. My children lived with me during that point, and my diabetic husband. So I wanted to keep everybody safe. It was even during that time, like my kids' friends weren't allowed to play with them because of what I did.
Oh, wow.
So they were isolated. So it was such a traumatic time for so many people, you know. But so I did the research, and I discovered I wanted to start offering these vitamin IVs to people. So I sent a bunch of emails to chiropractors in the area. I said, this is what I want to do. Do you have a room I can do this in?
Oh, wow.
And somebody said yes.
And that's how it started.
And that's how it started.
Okay.
So I started in a tiny little room in the back of a chiro. Then we bought a trailer, and I did them in my driveway. In the trailer, we would offer IVs. And then, it's just grown since there. So we started with the vitamin IVs and injections, really to help people stay well, get well. And then we've just grown as I keep learning this whole side of medicine. I had no idea, the functional medicine side. You know, I truly believe, and I know you do too, that we're created.
Yeah.
And that there is a creator, and that there is, like, our body is not an accident. We're not just, we don't appear from like a boom, like, and then accidentally, you know, one cell turns into heart, and another cell turns into liver, and another cell turns into your eyeball. Like, there's purpose and there's intention, and our bodies are created, and they're created to heal, and they're created to grow, and they're created to function well when they are supported well. And so really that's my goal as the owner of Essential Infusions Plus. I want to provide the tools, education, the micronutrients, hormones, whatever that person needs at their biologic level to support their body. But it is a tool. Like, my patients have to understand they have to be willing to do the work, right? So it only works if you quit eating sugary cereal every day for breakfast and stop drinking every single night when you go out, and start moving, right? You have to move.
Well, the body is an amazing thing when you give it what it needs.
Yep.
It's impressive what it can do.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
and
amazing.
that's what I've always appreciated. Yeah.
So we just keep growing with the different offerings that we have. And so that's how EIP came to be, how I ended up where I am today.
So thinking back, you had a lot of different experiences through previous to realizing what else is out there to help people with. What lessons did you learn through that you brought home, that you now use in the business? Like, what things did you, or changed you, like in regards to the things you saw, the things you experienced, the things you had to fight through? Like, you were a mom the whole time, you're raising kids, you're a wife. Like, what did that look like, and how did that apply on both sides of the coin?
You know, I learned to do my own research and not just to trust what I was told. So, you know, vaccinated my kids all growing up. But when it came to COVID, I did refuse the COVID vaccine, and I was ostracized at the hospital. I almost lost my job. It was, and then, you know, the way people talk to you when you choose to wait for research to support what they're saying is good for you. I was like, would like a little more research. Well, then I had to write a letter with other medical decisions I had made based on my faith and why I didn't want to accept the vaccine, and to a committee of whom I don't know. So I disclosed personal health information, was forced to disclose personal health information to, I don't even know who, it was not my medical provider, in order to say yay or nay whether or not I would get the vaccine. And then I was also forced to sign something saying, okay, well, if you say this, then you could never use Tylenol again or ibuprofen again because of what's in there. And, you know, well, now, of course, we know Tylenol's come out that it's not so great for you anyway. But it was humiliating. It was so frustrating. We were at the bedside taking care of people.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just, I had many friends that I worked with that lost their jobs because of it. But when you went from being a hero to looked at as an idiot and as someone who doesn't, well, now the evidence is showing that there's so many different bad effects from that vaccine. And I'm just glad I stood up for my beliefs. But there's several ways that I've stood up for my beliefs. But I do wish that I had learned this earlier. At the start of all this, I was completely unwell. So I've lost almost 100 pounds.
Yeah, you had a heck of a weight loss journey.
Weight loss.
Through that. So when did that start? What did that look like?
I mean, well, when you start learning how to take care of your body, things change, and start implementing. Then it's not about diet and exercise. It's about hormones. It's about night shift, 21 years of night shift. That does something to you. I just wish I would have done it earlier so I could have been a better mom for my kids when they were younger. I see pictures of me when they were really young, and it makes me really sad because I remember I would come home from work and just close the baby gate and lay on the floor in front of it and put some sugary snacks up for my kids and nod in and out of consciousness while I was trying to sleep, have the TV on, pray they don't hit me in the head with their toys, But, I wish I had more energy. I wish I was a better example for them. And I wish I had been able to do more for them at that point. It takes a toll on your relationships, So, I divorced my first husband. I am now remarried to a wonderful man who's adopted my kids, and I'm really taken on quite the role because it's quite the family what we have, So, as an educator, so another thing I do is I do teach for multiple universities, and I have to teach what they tell me to teach, but I also put my little side notes in there. Hey, this is what you really should do. This is what, if you're going to do this is what you need to do. And really, I have such a heart for healthcare workers, first responders. I mean, because I know the pain and the disproportionate statistics with health discrepancies and mental health issues and heart attacks and all the hormone disruptions with it and the burnout rate and knowing what it's like to burn out in healthcare and knowing what it's like to just be bombarded with stress all the time. And, you have to take care of yourself if you're going to take care of other people. So, I mean, there's been so many turning points where I've just really tried to align really what I feel God is leading me to do and how he's leading me to do it with what I've been practicing. And I can tell you there have been many times in my healthcare career that I've been wrong, that I have not known the right thing to do, and I've done the wrong thing, and I do regret some of the things that we've done. And I think a lot of people in healthcare, especially through the COVID, feel that way because now that we've seen some of the outcomes from some of the medications we were giving and some of the ways we were doing it, a lot of people are really disheartened from it. So there's just been a lot of ups and downs throughout. So.
Well, I think we all learned a lot about life and the world around us through COVID. But obviously, the good thing is it is part of why you are where you are now.
Yeah.
Right. So as painful as it was to go through, there's a lot of things in my life that are different because of that it wouldn't have opened my eyes in the same way to put me where I am today. So I'm also thankful for the painful journey that it created. But so you start Essential Infusions. At some point you have to give it a name. So when did it become like an actual business versus like a side hobby to give people IVs and supplements and all the fun stuff that you felt people needed?
So I initially started working for the Chiro under his LLC, but then I decided I wanted to start my own. And because I started with the infusions, vitamin infusions, that's where the Essential Infusions came up with. Okay. Because again, people need specific micronutrients. Everybody's different depending on their gut, their genetics, how they were raised, were they breastfed, all the stuff, and how they're absorbing things. So that's where Essential Infusions came from. Okay. So
what was the evolution of that? Because it's in a very different place now than when it started. So like, what was the next thing that popped in beyond the IVs? Like, how did that build over time?
Then we did weight loss because that was so near and dear to my heart. Yep. So then we added weight loss in and pretty quickly added hormones in as well, which is life altering too. And I just can't tell you how many people I've heard, you saved my marriage by helping me balance my hormones, which I can see. I think so many women specifically are told nothing's wrong, take a multivitamin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I've heard women say, my doctor just says, well, men want sex too much anyway. You have no libido. It's fine. I'm like, sex is an integral part of your marriage, and it's meant for emotional, spiritual, physical connection. And you can't just say it's okay not to be connected like that. Then that whole downfall of relationships, and then cascading onto the kids, it affects people. Women don't feel safe unless they're physically connected to their spouse. And that's how we're made, how we're created. And it's part of God's plan for our marriage. So all these doctors who ignore what women are saying or refuse to look at their hormones, so many doctors don't even test the hormones. They won't even look at them.
And if they do, the range they use isn't the range that our bodies are designed for. And I've always found that wild. When you look at the ranges over the years and the recommendations over the years and the constant changes based on politics and money and ways to drive. And I remember when we first met, I do the hormones. I've been doing that with you for a long time. But when we first got introduced was when my daughter was really sick, if you remember. We were in that early COVID. My daughter was not doing well, and we talked to you quite a bit, and you jumped on the phone with us in a heartbeat, and educated the heck out of my wife and myself on all of the things that we need to look for, what we could do, what were the different ways to help her. And so then when we moved out to Rochelle, I was experiencing a lot of the things of low hormones, but just attributed it to I'm 40.
You're
this
older.
This is the way it works, right? And so
the lie of aging.
Yeah. And then I remember sitting down with you, and I'm a skeptical guy. I don't believe everything at face value. I need, I do the research. Let me dig into it. Let me see what's going on. And it was a breath of fresh air to get just honest information, right? That's what I appreciated was it. Here's your labs. Here's what they mean. Here's why we're having this conversation. If you want these symptoms to be remedied, here's how we can help you, right? And so I spent weeks questioning everything that you were saying and validating all of the things. And I'm like, everything lines up. And so then we started. And I was shocked at how quickly all of those symptoms went away in a matter of months. I was blown away just by balancing out the hormones in me and and doing the things on the lifestyle changes and all that stuff. And I live and breathe it. My wife and I are both a big advocate of your, group, because we've been patients for several years now, and we've seen life-changing difference from it, which is, so I can be a testament to it as well. So
the lie that the reference ranges on the lab values are an accurate reflection of what optimal ranges should be. First of all, you're not even told that. It's not the optimal range. It is a range of where most people who have their labs drawn, who are suffering from the same problems, fall. Which, if you think about it, 40% of Americans have chronic illnesses. So you're looking at an average of sick people. So it is not an accurate reflection of optimal ranges. And over the years, for testosterone, for men specifically, they have kept changing that, moving that needle down, that range down further and further and further. So the range 30 years ago is not what it is today. It's much lower today than it was 30 years ago. And the fact that people look just at, for example, total testosterone versus free testosterone, which is actually what's available for your body to utilize. If it's bound up and not even available to utilize, you can have a normal or a high total testosterone, but your free testosterone is still at the lower end. You're still going to feel crummy. And that's the same for many different labs. So, our nutrients, our iron stores, our vitamin D. Don't even get me started on vitamin D. The lies with vitamin D. The fact that Medicare won't even pay for a vitamin D level on an elderly woman or man unless they have a history of vitamin D deficiency, which they can't get that diagnosis if no one's checking it. And the fact that once their vitamin D level hits 30, they say they're fine, but you don't get protection from fractures, falls, cancers until they hit 60. And the average American's 25.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you're in the sun, it's low.
Yeah.
And if you're darker skinned, which my kids are half Mexican, they look full Mexican, but they're half Mexican. So they're darker skin. Their levels are even lower because their skin, the color of their skin blocks more of that absorption. So just simple things like that's a simple fix. If you're an American, you probably need vitamin D in your life and you need to take it with K2 so it gets in your bones, doesn't calcify in your veins. I mean, there's just simple tricks I was never told.
Yeah. Well, and it's doing the deep dive into you and how your body's designed as to what levers need to be pulled to be effective, right? And I've enjoyed the education behind learning about that and the impact that it has, right? Well, and it's funny because we look at the medical healthcare system and you look at insurance and the world that you're in, insurance doesn't cover,
right?
Because the world that you're in allows your body to do what it's designed to do and makes it better. And the medical world will cover the stuff that keeps you trapped in the medical wheel, right?
Sick
and so
care model.
It's the sick care model, right? And so when you actually think about like the thing I hear people is like, well, is this covered by insurance?
Right.
Well, I don't know if I want to do it then. Why? Like this is going to make you not need stuff down the road, and it's going to make you self-sufficient and optimize your body and design for what it's going to do, which is why they don't want to pay for it. So I always find that interesting from a perspective standpoint.
I mean, disease processes, for example, diabetes starts 10 to 15 years before you even get that change in your hemoglobin A1C that says you're a pre-diabetic. One, we're not checking the right labs. And two, when you say work on your diet, that means nothing. Okay. A lot of people are like, oh, I think my diet's fine. It's good. But just because your diet's the same as most Americans, then it's crappy.
Yeah.
Like you really, the lie that we need bread in our life, it's so bad for us. And that recent study from
love
Florida,
bread though, and I enjoy eating it, even though I know it's not what my body wants.
But that study from Florida that showed that most breads off the shelf are contaminated in America with glyphosate. I mean, like we're putting chemicals in our body unknowingly because we trust big food, you know.
Well, you look at the food that's in the shelves in America, and then you look at the food that's on the shelves in Europe, and
oh yeah, completely different.
Very different. Well, and like I enjoy being on a homestead because we try to make everything ourselves so that we don't have to deal with any of that.
Right.
Because the processed is what is really the biggest thing people don't realize.
And the chemicals that they're spraying on the food to grow it, right?
All of that.
All that stuff. Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I know you have a strong faith. That's probably one of the things we're connected on. Where did God show up throughout that journey? Like when did God cause you to turn left, turn right? Like how did you see that? And how has your faith evolved? Like have you always had one? Did it start to grow on that mission trip? What did that look like?
I think for most people, faith is just like everything else is a journey, right? So there's times you're closer to God and times you're further away, times he's carrying you and times you feel like you can't hear him even though the world is silent. So that's been my journey. I've always been raised in church, always been a Christian. You know, I was definitely very close to God as a missionary. One, because when I moved to Mexico, I didn't know any Spanish. So I couldn't talk to anybody. It took a couple of months to really learn to be able to communicate, even simple things like what's for dinner. Like I couldn't even talk to my roommates. So that was a lonely time in my life. And that was before like cell phones and FaceTime. So it was like one collect call to my parents once a week. That was all the communication I got. From
very different from today.
Yeah. And it was very expensive. So they wanted to keep it very short, but very different from today where we're just so bombarded with communication all the time. You know, I think in the hard moments, all the things that I've talked about, you know, the code blues I've seen. I mean, you know, as an ER nurse, you deal a lot with people who miscarry, and I've had to get what they call the products of conception out of the toilet, but it's a fully formed fetus, fingernails, you know, a mouth, eyeballs at even like 8 weeks, you can see it. And like, I've held that in my hand. I have had the opportunity to be in surgery and hold a heart in my hand, which is crazy. But I just don't understand how you can be in healthcare and know about the body and not believe in a creator. It's way too complicated to be an accident. The way our systems work together, which is another problem with healthcare. You can't just say, okay, well, this problem, you go see an endocrinologist. This problem, you go see, you know, a urologist. But all of them cross over. They all work together. Yeah. You know, so you have to look at your body as a whole. And that's why you can't just say, oh, well, can you just give me some quick fix for this thing? Okay, so when I do my stem cell injection, so I do joint injections to help rebuild the tissue. And I tell people, you have to avoid alcohol. You need to eat good food, avoid sugar. Well, for how long? I said, well, however long you want your pain to go away for. It's a lifestyle. You need to make that shift. You need to support your body in doing what it's doing. So people don't even connect the fact that what you're putting in your body affects your body. Like, we're not a garbage disposal. It makes a big difference. So God's, in the garbage dump, he was there. With that pregnant woman, he was there. Through specific conversations and divine appointments with people like you, for example, like meeting you. The people I work with, they're all, I didn't know all of them before I hired them. And they are such strong believers and such strong believers in Christ and in what we do. They are definitely an appointment from God,
Yeah.
And just the different opportunities I've had. He's been there throughout, whether I know it's him or not, or I can be like, oh, that was a God moment. But he's definitely shown up at the different times and really carried me throughout the whole thing. So
When we look back, it's easy to see. In the moment is sometimes a challenge.
Yeah.
But yeah, God is definitely working in all of those things. And so as you've built the business, talking on the business side, what has that been like? What lessons from your journey through the medical field have made you successful in growing the practice that you've got? Because you started working out of Kairos, and then fast forward to just last November, you moved into a brand new building. And it's a real business. It is what you do. You were doing it kind of on the side, and then now it's what you run. That's pretty cool. So how did that evolve, and what were the steps and lessons that started to implement to make that successful as you grew?
I think everything that I learned that I felt God wanted me to bring into the business, we're learning to grow that side of the business and having the right people there. And you're helping us learn how to evaluate that better. Cause I'm definitely not a business person. That's not my strong point, And so that's been a huge learning curve is just to learn to do business. And I just want to help people, with the clinical side, but you have to learn the business side too. And there's been lots of challenges associated with that. So God putting the right people in my life to help me with that and to help guide me and bring their wisdom in and his wisdom in has been super helpful. And then my kids are super supportive. My mom, my husband is completely supportive in all that we do, even though it's been hard financially. It's been hard time-wise. I mean, I just recently quit my full-time job, and I still work side jobs, because as you grow a business, you don't get paid. You just do it, and it's been challenging as you want to help so many people and learning that there are people who just want to take advantage of you, or people don't realize how hard you're working and the times you've had to pay payroll out of your savings account, and patients who demand more of you than you can give. And having to draw boundaries and, okay, after 6 o'clock, it's really family time. I really need to focus on my family, and that balance has been challenging too. And I can't say I do it real well even now. And
we're still improving every day.
It's hard. It's hard, but the business side has been challenging. The hard part, the helping people has been great, very great. So,
well, I think that's why you grew the way that you did. Was when somebody sits across the table from you, they can tell that you really love this stuff, right? And so we talked a little bit about that, the reality of somebody who's passionate in whatever space they're in, you can tell, right? And so I think that there's been a lot of value, and I think your staff appreciates that. And so as we've built the foundation and started to create more defined roles and expectations and KPIs and all the business vernacular that everybody hears about but doesn't put into play, it does have an impact. It creates that structure, and then you start to meet at leadership and actually make plans. Where are we trying to go, right? And what does that look like, and how do we then take steps to get there? And that's part of why you were able to step back from your full-time job, is we're finally at that
taking
point,
steps,
right?
yes,
which is fun. What's the of all the stories that you've dealt with patients of your clinic? Do you have one or two that are some of the best case study stories where somebody's reached out and the impact that they've had has been like just amazing, and they're so thankful for it?
Yeah. So I instantly comes to mind a lot of my stem cell patients. I see a lot of stem cell patients.
Yeah.
But being able to give, I had a guy who had an amputation years ago for a motorcycle accident, and he had a chronic wound on his stump, his leg, from this. He had been going to wound care for over a year. I gave him an infusion, and within 4 weeks, his wound was healed, and they kicked him out of wound care, but they wanted just him to keep sending pictures because he healed so quickly after that. Another woman, we did back injections in an IV. She was set up to have surgery, and I mean, all of her symptoms resolved. She got off her narcotics, and she was able to, they said, no, you're no longer a candidate for surgery anymore because of everything that has happened. People who say, my marriage is saved because of these hormones. That's something I hear from women particularly a lot, is like, my libido's back. I'm happier. I'm not anxious. I'm sleeping. Like, I'm who I used to be, who my husband
roller coaster
married.
has finally died down.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those type of things have been super helpful. I mean, we have cancer patients come in, and we've seen, that diagnosis go away, with supportive care and all this stuff for people who are really willing to put the work in, we're just trying to help people be the best they can be and to really thrive. And I think we're taught that surviving's fine, but I don't want to live 100 years if the last 40 of it, I feel like crap, and the last 20 of it, I'm in a nursing home. Like, that's not life.
That is not a life worth living.
That's not life.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to thrive and enjoy my family and travel and be able to do the work God has called me to do for the rest of my life until the day I die. And I do think that's God's plan for us.
Yeah.
There are a few people that, God works in sickness and illness, and that's another story for them. But I do think part of what we're called to do as Christians and as believers is to take care of the body we've been given. Healthcare the way it is today does not help you do that.
No. Well, in the comment you made, God does good with all things. He doesn't make the bad things happen so that he can do good with them. Bad things happen because the enemy is involved, and God will make good from it. Right. And I think that people need to share that perspective, because that's way more uplifting. Yeah. Like, when you're going through a struggle or going through a hard time, whether it's at work, at home, whatever, God will use it for good.
Yeah.
You may not see it in your lifetime either, but it will be used for good. And I can countless examples where I've seen that over the years. But let's talk about stem cells, and let's talk about some of the stuff that you get into that are similar to that, regenerative medicine, because I think the world that we're in thinks it's brand new, thinks it's hocus pocus, thinks it's crap, right? Like, that's what the pharmaceutical companies want us to believe.
Yeah.
Because the reality of it is, it isn't something they can make. It isn't, it's what God made it, right? That's what it is. So talk a little bit about where does that come from, and why is that such a challenge, and why is the world that makes all the money trying to fight this system?
So when we talk about stem cells and biologics, it's a term that people are like, oh, they're either really polarized about it, either yay or nay. Yep. But it's been around for many, many years.
Long time.
30 plus years.
Yeah.
And especially in other countries.
Nobody just wants to tell us about it.
Right. So, back in the day, 20 years ago, people were going across to Europe or to Panama or wherever to get these treatments done, hundreds of thousands of dollars to get these treatments done, because they are regenerative. So when we talk about stem cells, mesenchymal stem cells, these are the kind that we utilize. How we get them from a U.S.-based tissue bank that is overseen by the FDA. So they have regulations they have to follow and how they process things. They can't manipulate the product. The product comes after a baby is born full term by C-section. The mom donates the umbilical cord.
Yeah.
And so this product that typically gets thrown away, I know for all my kids, we just threw it away. They can actually extract from there these cells that are not just the mesenchymal stem cells, but they're signaling cells that tell your body to do what it needs to do. There's growth factors in there. There's collagen. They're super potent. That's what we are made from. We come from one cell that becomes billions and billions of cells. and they innately know what to do, which is what's so amazing about them. So they're so potent. There's so many different potent things in there. Antimicrobial. They can help modulate their immune system. That huge rise in autoimmune issues, especially post-COVID. It's not that we want to suppress our immune system, which is what biologic steroids, those do. They suppress our immune system, which then makes you at higher risk for infections and death from all that other stuff.
Everything else. Yep.
What we want to do is reteach your immune system to do what it was doing well to begin with. Make it work appropriately. It's supposed to inflame initially, but not stay inflamed long term, right? It's supposed to send the right kind of cells to areas that are having problems. So there's some of those good cells are in there as well. So you can help modulate the immune system. So for people who have autoimmune issues, it can be really life-changing. But we get those cells, they test them for multiple different viruses, diseases. They do a full health history of mom. These are even pre-COVID. So there's no COVID vaccine.
Yeah, they're
or
pretty
mRNA.
particular. What is it, like 2 or 3% or maybe 4 are accepted? Like it's not like a vast majority, like
Correct.
very few.
Very few are collected, and it's kept in a cryo freezer. So that's why it's very potent. It stays for years in a cryo freezer. And then we inject a small amount. So it's millions of cells, millions to billions, but it's a small amount of liquid.
Volume.
Yes, volume. So you can inject it into joints or into the muscle of the back, or you can use an IV version, or FDA has approved it for like hair restoration. You can use it topically for burns. There are FDA approved reasons for doing this. They use stem cells, some cancer treatment as well. But for some of the stuff that we utilize it in, there are so many studies that support the process that do say that they can be very helpful. But the FDA has not approved them for them. So they are FDA regulated from that tissue bank, but they are not FDA approved for to help with pain. What they do is stimulate a biologic process in our body that we are made to do. Our bodies are made to do. You just stimulate that process, and then your body can help regenerate, can help do what it was supposed to do. Think 17-year-old boy full of growth hormone, they can fall and they can break their leg and bounce back, very quickly.
Very quickly.
80-year-old man does not have that level of growth factor, does not have that level. Their stem cells are reproducing at a much slower rate. So from a newborn baby, it's 1 billion in 30 days. For an 80-year-old, it's 200. That goes from 1 to 1 billion in 30 days. And for an 80-year-old, it goes from 1 to 200. That's how much we slow down.
Significantly.
Significantly.
And that's where diet comes in. That's where sleep comes in. That's where
all the toxins and everything too.
Everything else to your body to help support the process.
Yeah. So you have to prime the soil, the environment. And that's why we do a lot of teaching. Like yes, we can give you this, but you're going to have your best outcome if you utilize it as a tool and you change your life. And I've had people just grab onto that. I did a couple, and I did infusions, and they really grabbed onto the anti-inflammatory diet. And within a month, I think he had lost 20 pounds, got off all of his antihypertensive meds, was feeling great. And she's like, I've only lost 4 pounds. I'm like, well, that's just kind of how it goes. But like people, he had been on antihypertensive since his early 20s. So this is like 40 years later. And within a month, he's off all his meds because they're very potent, especially when you utilize them as a tool, right?
Yeah.
Which then tells you, okay, how toxic was what I was putting in my body? Like, how bad was that? So, so that's what we utilize them for. There's lots of different things. You can even, they've also been studied in erectile dysfunction, vaginal rejuvenation. There's a really good book called Stem Cell Therapy, A Rising Tide by Dr. Neil Riordan. Each chapter is to focus on a different disease process, case study, and studies and mechanism of action. So if you're at all curious about it, I highly recommend that book because it will give you the science behind it in language that's easy to understand and can tell you how long they've been around in the studies. There's a chapter in there that talks about heart failure and post-heart attack. And they did a study where they injected it into the muscle of a rat, into the hamstring, and then gave that rat a heart attack, and those cells migrated up to the heart. How did they know to do that? God, right?
The way the body's designed.
Yeah, the way the body's designed. So, they are very potent, very intelligent, and because they're stem cell, they're immune before you can actually build antibodies to them. So they're able to be injected into anyone without like doing blood testing, that type of thing. There are some people that we aren't able to help with it, especially if you have active cancer, pregnant, that type of thing. But there are of the millions that have been done, there have been no serious adverse events from a U.S.-based tissue bank. Now, you'll hear about these from other tissue banks from out of the country because for a lot of them, they're actually taking cells and then they're adding stuff to it to grow more so they can make more out of there. And people ask me all the time, why are they so expensive? I'm like, well, there's a limited amount, right? This is not something we're making.
It's a supply and demand thing. Yep.
Right. It's a supply and demand thing.
And it's a lot of work to be able to produce the ones that will be successful.
Right.
Like there's a lot of checks and balances to make sure that what's being brought to the market is actually going to work and be effective, which is why if you ever have it done, there's significant discounts if a year later you haven't improved because the odds of it are so low, right? Like that's how this works, right?
But if you put your effort into it, you're going to help it immensely.
Well, so Essential Infusions Plus, EIP, in Rochelle, but you travel to 36 potential states to do this all over the country. But anybody in the Midwest could come to your office and do it in the office. And there's a whole bunch of supportive stuff. So if somebody wants to do this or thinks that this is something they want to learn more about, like how do they find you? How do they get information? What's the steps somebody would have to go through to get approved, to get signed up, to get like how long does that wait look like?
So they can go to our website, essentialinfusionsplus.com, find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
All of it will be in the comments. We'll have it down below.
You can call us, 815-414-2024. Typically, I had a guy walk into the office yesterday. If I'm in the office and I'm available, like I can talk to them right now and do the procedure right away. But I would say, typically within, 2 to 6 weeks, we can get you in to do it. It's a phone call. Usually my nurse will talk to you about like the different things that we do because we do other regenerative things as well.
Yeah.
So there's different choices. And then she'll push it to me. If they're interested, I'll do the consult and the medical clearance, that type of thing. And then we'll have them come in. And if you come into our office, we do have different things that help the process. So we have a pulsed electronic magnetic frequency mat that helps improve blood flow for the time of the procedure and for a few months afterwards. We have red light therapy that helps with the process. We even have prolozone therapy, which is vitamins and ozone gas into that area, depending on what we're injecting as well, that can actually help amplify the benefits as well and give pretty quick relief for that too. And then we always talk about like, if you want to go above and beyond, I give them a list of supplements that have been studied to help, and the diet, we talk about that, but then other things as well. Peptides are all the rage right now, and we do that too. There are some that can specifically help optimize how much growth hormone you're spitting out, so how fast this works for you. There's some that help with inflammatory issues, that type of thing. So,
well, peptides, they're targeting something specific. I think people are so confused with peptides because it's a word that doesn't make any sense. There's no definition to their mind that it's connected to, and it's activating your body to do what it's designed to do, and it's very specific, right? And that's why they work so well.
They're very specific signaling cells. So there's hundreds of peptides out there. There's just a few that are used in the medical world. The first discovered peptide was insulin.
People don't know that.
People that is. And then another really popular peptide, GLP-1s, are peptides. So, but there's other ones too. And so that recently have been moved back to where we can utilize them. And super helpful. And I've been on them for a while. I just cycle through the different ones. There's ones that can help your brain. There's ones that can help metabolic dysfunctions. There's just so many different options. But there's lots of layers as to how deep you want to go and how much you want to optimize it and what we can do to help you with that. So And again, like you said, I'm licensed in 36 states. I have full practice authority in 25 of them. And that just means in 25 different states, I could talk to you over the phone, and we can do a lot of this over the phone. Obviously,
so
not the
telehealth
injection
stuff, which is super common these days. And
telehealth is definitely available. And if you have a question, if your state's covered, you can just send us a message or check our website.
Okay. So when you think about the market that you serve and kind of where God's moving with your business now, where do you see the next step going?
I want to be able to serve more people.
Okay.
And help more people. So I've recently brought in another nurse practitioner. We're trying to grow our staff, our hours. I really want to grow the regen side of things because I think
That's the stem cell, prolozone, things along that line.
the regenerative therapies that help you regenerate your body and help with pain relief and functional status. So whatever we can do to help you function well for the rest of your life, that's where we are. And then we have a functional side where we do the deeper dive, advanced labs that look at gut microbiome or look at how your body's actually metabolizing your hormones or different things. If you want the deeper dive with personalized health coaching, that type of thing, that is very intense, but transformative, completely life-changing, but only fit for people who are willing to do the work because you do have to make those changes, and honestly, every chapter of our life has different challenges, right? And I speak to women because I see a lot of women, but there's premenopausal, there's perimenopausal, there's postmenopausal, there's clear chapters for women, but men have chapters in their life too.
Well, and you don't see as many men because men are afraid to admit it to themselves and ask for help.
Yes, it's true.
We're very stubborn.
And they accept the lie that I'm just getting older.
Yeah.
I hear that all the time.
It works. Yeah.
And that lie of aging, that's not a truth. That's because there's something going on in your body. Fatigue is not normal. There's something that needs to be fixed. Joint pain is not normal. Brain fog, not normal. You don't have to accept that lie. You don't. So, and I'm not here to prescribe you a medication just to put a pill for every ill. Like it's not a Band-Aid. That's not where we're at. We're let's fix the problem.
Yeah. Let's get to the root cause, which is part of your mission vision, right? Is root cause focused. What's the body need and how do we fill that void or lift it up? It's kind of like modern medicine shuts things off. The world that you're in is made to lift things up, right? I think that coincides with our faith walk too. Like we're not meant to shut the world out. We're meant to lift it up and disciple and do all of those things. So, with where you're at now, what's the biggest lesson that you found the most valuable as you continue forward?
I think advocate for yourself.
Okay.
I think my patients, man, I hear so many like, I've been asking for my doctor this, and that. If they're not listening to you, come to us. We listen. I mean, you learn so much about a patient where they need to go by listening to them. But if, you don't have to accept, well, my doctor won't order that, or I don't agree with that. Do the research on the meds they're prescribing. Read the insert, even Tylenol. It's not good for you. Like there's things. So let's help your body do what it was made to do. I also want to encourage you, don't think that the insurance company is the end all be all, like that they actually know what's best for you. And so if insurance doesn't cover it, that doesn't mean it's not good for you, right? Yeah. And if the FDA doesn't approve it, that doesn't mean there's not science behind it that backs up it's what it does. It just means that the money that comes from usually big pharma hasn't been poured into these large studies. And if they're not going to make a profit off it, a lot of times they're not going to do those studies. But there are studies out there. Go to Google Scholar, type in what you're looking for, and you'll find the studies of what you're looking for. So there are studies that show
information's power.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's a lot of it available. You just have to look for it. It's not handed to you as easily as you'd like to believe in the open market, but it's available. And I know you guys do a lot to show people where that information is so they can do their own research versus just taking it at your word. Is there anything else you'd like to cover before we wrap up?
No, I just want to encourage you guys, there are other options out there for you. And we are here to listen to you, to pray with you, to really guide you in the right direction. If you have any questions or concerns, you can just stop by or call, and we're happy to help you.
But yeah, so like when I think back about when I first started using you as a patient, I kind of threw the wind to libido. I just assumed that I was always going to have a little bit of overweight. Like that's just what 40-year-olds, and it's only going to get worse. My sleep was awful, like up most nights, multiple times. And every midday, early afternoon, we're crashing, right? Like I remember that, and that was just okay. Like that's just where I'm at, and so we'll move on with life. And then we met, and all of those are things that aren't normal. And I'm going, yeah, they are. Everybody else says they are, right?
Everybody has it, so they think it's normal.
Yes. And so that's when you and I talked about doing something to balance out hormones. And we looked at them, and they were way lower than they should be. And I had no idea. And so that I thought was where I started to realize there's some validity to this and like, maybe we should take a look at it. We dove deeper. And once I started, it was, okay, I'm noticing a difference. I think it took about 2 or 3 weeks. And then I'm like, I got more energy. I'm more awake in the afternoon. I'm actually staying asleep at night. Like all the things started to happen. And then I remember that fall, like I was losing weight. And now, mind you, I've always had a decent diet. I've always had, so I didn't have to change some of the other things too. But my workouts got better. I had more energy going into them. So my workouts are not even harder. I'm being really intentional on the eating because I'm trying to do everything else. And then all of a sudden I was losing weight faster than I ever thought I would. And I'm going, Angie, is there something wrong? And I remember you guys were like, that's kind of what happens. Yeah. And I'm going, no, there's like, do I have cancer or something? Because like I literally was freaking out. And I thought that it was wild. And honestly, it's been the most stable that I ever, and I can't remember being like this since I was 20.
Yeah. Well, the sad part is I'm seeing men in their 20s with really low testosterone. Now,
more and more of them.
Yes, because of the toxins of our food and everything, plastics, all that stuff. I will tell you, in the medical world, you're not considered low testosterone unless your total testosterone is less than 200 typically, which is so low. So low. Which is like
the basement.
Yeah. And really to protect against all colors of mortality, you want to get it closer to 600. But again, we need to look at that free testosterone level to really see where you are.
Yeah.
But people who do all the stuff with hormones, I have seen some remarkable changes. You are one of them. And typically in men, like the muscles, I was like, what happened to you? Like all of a sudden you're like jacked everywhere. And,
I gave up the 6-pack as soon as I was done with college. Like I just assumed that was gone forever. And now I have one at 42 and I'm going, I never thought that was going to happen. Like
I know I go to the gym and it's all EIP. Like it's people, all the nurses,
the whole staff
all my patients. And I'm like, I love this. I love this. But yeah, when you put the effort in, it can do amazing things. Really, truly amazing. But we've done more than hormones with you.
We have. So I use NAD, which why don't you explain what that is and how people get value from it? Because I've seen much more clarity from it.
Yeah. NAD is probably one of my favorite things. So NAD, really, our mitochondria produce ATP, which is our energy source that dumps as we get older, and it gets broken. The process gets broken throughout life. NAD is like giving yourself an injection of energy right to the cellular level. And it's not caffeine, it's not crack cocaine, right? Yeah. It's a cellular energy. And it's not just for body, it's for mind. So mental clarity, your workouts will better, you're going to recover better. It's wonderful. And I've tried it several different ways. My favorite way is subcutaneous injection a few times a week. And I took one this morning before I came here, but
so did
I love it. It's probably one of my favorite things. Absolutely recommend it for anyone who wants to optimize their health. Yep.
Well, and so for me, I've always been a workout junkie, so I've always been in that world. But through the sports of life, my shoulders have taken a beating, my knees have taken a beating. And at Christmas, when we were at the Christmas party.
So we have weird Christmas parties.
Which was fun. It was a good time. I always enjoy spending time with the EIP staff. But Angie shows up with all the things to offer whatever anybody wants that day. And I'm going, what are we doing here? We're pulling out like all... So she wanted the guys to do a prolozone injection. And ironically, my shoulder had always bothered me. But again, I just kind of assumed it was just going to be because I've injured it. And so that's part of why I didn't end up going to the Marine Corps was I injured my shoulder before boot. And so I just never, it affects me. Like there's times where the pain is keep me up at night. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll do the shoulder. I literally thought it was just, okay, this will be fun, make Angie feel good. It took like a day and my pain was gone and it hasn't come back. And this was 4 or 5 months ago. Like, and I'm going,
it's one of
really?
The favorites. Yeah. It's an injection of vitamins and procaine and then followed by ozone gas. And like you said, it can work very quickly and be very helpful for what people think is going to be, my shoulder's just going to hurt the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to.
Yeah. And that's the starting point for people who have a less involved or chronic issue in a joint and things like that. Because stem cells aren't cheap. I mean, let's call a spade, right? But for people who are at that point where it's debilitating, they can't do walks anymore. They can't lift their arm anymore. Like stem cells are probably what it's going to take to help regenerate that properly. But for more acute pain, prolozone is a great first step. And usually it's a few injections for a lot of people.
Usually.
But it's impressive. I was shocked at how fast it worked. It was funny because we did it for a few of the guys, and one of the other guys that I see at the gym comes up to me literally like a couple days later, "How's your shoulder?" And I'm like, "Surprisingly, it doesn't hurt." And he's like, "That's my knee too." And I'm going, "So you're shocked too?" Like both of us were like, "This actually did work." Like, and it's been pretty impressive. But yeah.
Yeah, so I love helping my staff and staff family to feel great and be walking billboards and be able to talk the talk, you know.
Well, they live and breathe it. Like they literally live that lifestyle. So it's not like it's a sales pitch. It's not like it's let's convince everybody else so we can bring revenue in. It's we do this and our lives are so much better from it. And we want you to experience that too.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I see with every patient that comes to the clinic. And that's why you've been successful building what you've been building is it is genuine and intrinsic. Like it's built into your being. It's people first. It's God first. It's how can we serve the community around us? And are we doing it for the right reasons and to benefit them? And how can we help them? And that's why I appreciate how deep you go with the research on the front end of the patient that you're seeing of, yes, you're in for this, but let's figure out where that's stemming from.
Yeah.
Let's solve that. We're not just going to fix the Band-Aid. Like there's, and you might see other benefits, which I've seen, right? Where this was what we started with, but there were these 3 or 4 other things that also were related to the root cause. And so when we actually got down there, multiple things got better versus just the start of the conversation. So I think that there's a lot of value to that. So when you think about the world around us, like what would be the biggest message you'd give to the world as it comes to this space, or people that are interested in how do I follow Angie's path? Like, how do I get to do what she does? Like, how do I get there? What are the things I need to focus on? Or what are the lessons that you follow to manage that process?
So you have to remember your body's not a garbage disposal, right? So standard American diet is called SAD for a reason. It's terrible. So really focusing on good nutrition. So protein, hydration, veggies and fruit, and really minimizing anything processed. And I'm not a big proponent of bread as much as I like it. It's just, you don't need it. But I am a proponent of good fats, avocados, olive oil, butter, real salt, all the stuff, electrolytes, some things that the medical world says those are bad. They're not necessarily bad. Only in very specific cases can they be harmful for people. And it's not what you think for most of them. So doing the work on your side. But a lot of it, is I get so irritated when I see, well, you can only lose weight. You're not in a true calorie deficit if you're not losing weight. That's an absolute lie. It's a lie because there's so much more to losing weight than calories in, calories out. There is so much more about your hormones, how they regulate it, and whether your body's in fight or flight, whether it even feels safe enough to let go of the weight, right? And again, that's a real personal journey for me. Always overweight. With my last pregnancy, I was over 300 pounds and miserable. And I was a healthcare worker. I'm a healthcare worker. I'm like educating people on how to take care of themselves, and I'm completely unhealthy. If you walk through a hospital, you will see overweight, limping. They're living off of coffee and graham crackers and peanut butter from the med room. That's what we do, exhausted all the time. And healthcare workers who are trying so much to help people are just so broken. There's things we can do to help, but a lot of us don't even know. And you don't know until you get information. Information is so key. So our initial lab panel is pretty extensive. We have other labs we can do that are more in-depth as well, based on who you are and what you're doing. But even simple things like a continuous glucose monitor. And you can now buy those over the counter. But that gives you information about how your body responds to food that you may or may not think is good for you. And it's been shocking for me and my husband. My husband's a diabetic. I am not. And we use CGMs. And what you may think is like, oh, it's just a protein bar. It's good for me. And then your blood sugar spikes. And one thing I've learned in my years is that women, particularly perimenopausal women, we dump our blood sugar a lot. So we're living low. And so that 3 a.m., 2 a.m. wake up is not necessarily hormones. Hormones have part to do with it. Sometimes it's low blood sugar because we're like, okay, I'm gaining weight because my estrogen's going down. I got to eat less. Well, now you're hypoglycemic, which means your body's releasing a surge of cortisol, which means now your blood sugar is going to go up pretty quickly, but you need to learn to eat to have a nice steady blood sugar. And then you don't have that brain fog and you don't have that afternoon crash because your brain is being fed. Your brain needs sugar. That's its main source of energy. Simple things like that. Get a CGM and wear it for a month.
Mm-hmm. Well, the blood levels affect those other things that you don't tie together always.
Right.
And it's all a byproduct of what you take in.
Yeah.
Right.
So look at your blood sugar. Fix your blood sugar so you're just nice and steady all the time. So like protein first all the time, every single meal, including breakfast. We've been told this lie that protein for breakfast is weird, but no, cereal's not good. Toast is not good. You need to eat eggs or a steak. I don't care what you eat. Eat some kind of protein in the morning. Front load your calories during the day, so you eat it first thing in the morning and eat less throughout the day. That's what our bodies, we release our insulin, how we're supposed to release our insulin anyway. So,
well, you've seen the impact on people that take this stuff and actually apply it. And you love the impact that it has. Say there's a high school kid or somebody getting ready for college
I have a
that
few of those
wants
in my
to
house.
be in this world, that wants to follow your path and land where you are today, where they get to live in this space and have the same impact on society, affect the community like your business does. What would you tell them?
So there's a couple different paths you can do. If you want to be a provider, a medical provider, prescribing, you have to go to school for that, either MD, PA, NP, something like that. And just be aware that a lot of what you're taught is not necessarily the best for people. So do your own research.
Go in with an open mind. Take the information you need to get the credentials, but be aware that there's other work to do.
A lot of what I've learned in the functional world, I mean, all of it, I've had to pursue myself. So going to other classes, going to other certifications, just really immersing myself in the information, other classes from elsewhere, because it was not provided to me. You could also do like medical assistant and get a job in a clinic like mine, or a health coach is another great option. I feel like everybody needs a health coach in their life. Like we all struggle with something. None of us have a perfect life, and we need someone to keep us accountable. And I wish, insurance has covered that. Like I don't understand, if you need someone to help you with your diet and exercise, why don't we provide that for them, for diabetics, for cardio, anybody with any kind of illness, or before they have an illness to prevent it. But health coaching is such a need, and becoming an expert at nutrition and biohacking human behavior. Honestly, we have to learn to help people get from where they are to where they're going to go, and everybody's path is different. And so we got to figure out how to help each person. We don't all take the same size steps. We don't all take, we don't always go straight forward. Sometimes we go to the side and sometimes we go backwards, but you need someone to walk with you and hold you accountable to that.
So there's a ton of different ways they could get involved in this space. It just depends on how far they want to take it. Do they want to own their own business? Do they want to participate and support an existing business? There's a lot of ways to get there, but it's really leaning into learning what's out there, asking the questions, turning to people like you that have obviously taken this full stop as a mentor, as a resource to help guide them through the process is probably a big part of where you'd tell them.
Yeah, find a good mentor.
Yeah.
One who's in this realm. So,
yeah, because it's a world that I think until you get into it, the stuff you'll run into the quickest online tells you that it's all crap. And when you start to actually find out what's really behind the curtain, it's a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a lot to be learned in that space. And it interconnects and actually makes a heck of a lot more sense than all the stuff you're going to run into first, which I think is pretty wild when you really think about it. But I always enjoy you and I sitting down and spending time together and walking through life together. It's been a fun journey developing our relationship and everything that we've done, which I value. And so thank you for being on the show today, for being on Built on Purpose. Like this show, we're building businesses, we're bringing God into it, we're building something with a purpose, but I think that it takes it at even a deeper level in your space when you're talking about the body and the way that we care for ourselves and the world that God's given us to walk through. And you're helping people build that on purpose. And I think that that's what makes it so fun to have somebody like you on this show. And,
Yeah.
and I really appreciate it. So if you're out there and you want to dive deeper and you want to actually make your life better, Essential Infusions Plus, you have to talk to them. You've got to schedule time. They've got an amazing staff. They will help you. They will guide you. They will walk through. It's an educational process, right? They will take you to the next level. You just have to come in with an open mind and be willing to listen and be a participant in the process. And you're ultimately the one that they're focused on. It's not about them. It's not about the things that they have. They've got the arsenal. Take advantage of it. Go online, essentialinfusionsplus.com. They're in Rochelle, Illinois. They can do telehealth. They can do in-person. Check them out. Really appreciate you watching the show. Thank you. Thank you, Angie. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to the journey we get to go as you continue to grow.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Super exciting.
So appreciate it. And remember, everything is built on purpose.